no surprise that, we have people saying, horrible things about the Jews that no Christian should, should be saying. Like it just really shouldn't surprise us that this is happening. And seems like that maybe you think that's not really the case, and it's just like a fringe group on the dark corners of the web, maybe.
Well, what I think is actually causing it is, well, one, the actions of the Jewish people themselves throughout history, and second, the modern church and, in many cases, the state's actions in suppressing honest discussion and observation about those things. If these things were allowed to be openly debated, which is my whole purpose, and thankfully, thanks to X and certain other areas, that is actually more and more becoming the case. But if those things were always originally allowed to be openly debated, the bursting outcry against the Jewish people, both legitimate and sinful, would simply be nowhere near as strong as it is now. It's just it's the basic analogy of the pressure cooker, or just keeping a very strong load of water pressure and just trying to keep it down in. And the harder you push and the longer it's there, the stronger it builds up until eventually it becomes a jet stream that can cut through steel. Whereas if you simply alleviate the pressure by normal, regular means, it wouldn't get anywhere near that strong. So no, I fundamentally believe, I think, I'm not accusing you personally of this, but I think the general ascribing of the recent trend in noticing uppercase N is not due to some new mysterious like spirit of conspiratorial thinking and Jew hatred or whatever. I think these are actually being caused. Well, they have been caused by the historic actions of the Jews themselves and by suppression of rightful discussion and on those matters. This simply wouldn't be happening if we were always allowed to have these discussions in the open air.
So you think the Jews have brought this on themselves, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
So you think...
In part, yes. In part, they did, yes.
Do you think Dan Bazillionaire wanting to just annihilate them, that's the Jews' fault? They should just be nicer.
Well, in the same way that a woman who knowingly walks scantily clad in an alleyway in, I don't know, Brooklyn, even though she's not per se guilty of herself being raped and murdered, nonetheless, we can say, well, you knowingly did something which was obviously going to bring blowback to you.
So Jews are like the girl. Well, I mean, I don't even accept that view, Paul. I mean, that's kind of... Are you hearing yourself?
I'm not saying that he's equally guilty. Obviously, the ultimate guilt in that scenario comes in the one who rapes and kills her. So obviously, he's the one who gets the death penalty. She shouldn't be punished for making a stupid decision. But in the end, you have to acknowledge the obvious fact of cause and effect, that there is provocation, that victims can actually provoke their own suffering. I don't see how anyone can look in history and deny that.
So really Dan's... I don't know, is it 50-50 then, with Dan Bazillionaire wanting to wipe Israel off the map? Like, again, like Israel should just be nicer, and they're coaxing him. I mean, I don't even know what they're doing that would make Dan Bazillionaire want to wipe them off the face of the map. For one,
colonization,
but then they compare that to somebody. Well, if a girl gets raped, it's because she's dressing, provocative. I mean, it doesn't work like that.
That is a contributing factor, and likewise. Jewish activity is not the sole cause, obviously, of their own suffering and people attacking them online. Obviously, the efficient cause of that is Dan Bilzerian and Stonechoir and, well, in a sense, me, because obviously, even in the comments right now, we'll have people saying I'm an anti-Semite and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, people who make these comments are the efficient cause of them, just as a rapist is the efficient cause of rape. And yet, these things can be in part instrumentally brought to happen by actions of the victims. That's just an undeniable fact of history.